What if they just yearn? What if they just yearn?
Bring back yearning.
Now seating for Empty Theater Club.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Empty Theater Club, a podcast for people who just watched the Golden Globes simply for Timothée Chalamet. I'm Val.
I'm Cam. Welcome back. Welcome to 2025. Haven't seen you since last year.
Crazy.
How funny. We missed you. This episode, we're joined by Lin Codega.
Lin is, in their own words, is an award-winning entertainment journalist focusing on science fiction and fantasy media. They are the co-founder of Rascal News, which is an independent outlet for journalism about tabletop role-playing games and the people who make them. And they're currently a writer's room assistant for Cam's favorite show, Interview with the Vampire Season 3. And they're also the author of an upcoming debut queer fantasy novel called MOTHEATER, which is out on January 21st. So excited. This is a little kind of your press tour.
It is the first leg. This is the first interview that I've done for Moththeater.
Well, let's hope it's a good one and not a bad one. But...
already off on a good start for sure.
A new year, new me. So welcome 2025. How are we feeling, everyone? I mean, I don't know. For me, the new year is just award season because Val and I care way too much about awards.
How did you feel about Emilia Perez doing so good?
I mean, whatever. It's not surprising to me that voters are going for it, but sorry if you're an Emilia Perez stan. But I don't think it's...
Yeah.
Are you an Emilia Perez stan?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Because I'm like,
it's just very funny.
I was gonna say that's crazy, but
it's just good. It's just good stuff. I love gossip.
Yeah,
I think people can't walk and chew gum at the same time, and I think that is a blanket statement for literature, for film, culture, all of that. So people hate nuance, but
I love Zoe Saldana though. So
yeah,
we can't blame her for what she's done. It's good.
She's good in Avatar.
So my goal
Avatar last night.
I think my goal for 2025 is to talk less about Emilia Perez and have that less in my lexicon.
It's just gonna increase more and more. So
But speaking of goals, Lin, I would love to know, kind of starting off. You're starting off the new year with a debut novel, which is incredible. Sure, is a lifetime achievement and no small feat. So how are you kind of approaching this year, big picture, your major resolutions? Do you have any benchmark goals for this press tour? What are you looking at to?
So I am really bad about setting goals because especially over the past 4 or 5 years, my life has been kind of a series of uninterrupted extreme changes in my life, from career changes to moving across the coast to changing like writing styles and learning new things, and just the way that the industry has shifted. I think the impacts of the pandemic are obviously still being felt. So I've always been bad at setting goals, and now I'm especially bad at setting goals. But yeah, I really don't have a lot of ambitions for this.
Well, it's okay because you just wrote a book. Like
that's the thing. You're starting the year strong. Like
exactly. I'm Capricorn in Type A, so I was like, so money. So what are your goals?
Oh, really? That's no. I'm like Lin. I'll be like, I would like to read more, and I'd like to.
It's stuff like that.
Yeah, it's getting back your train of thought, ironically.
But it's also hard after the holidays, like your time stops existing. So it's like my goal is to, like, first of all, just become a normal person again. Like I can't be ahead of that, beyond that.
Lin, you mentioned moving across the country, like being bicoastal now. So where did you grow up? Where were you before the West Coast? Kind of what's your story?
Yeah, so I grew up in a military family and we sort of traveled around the South a lot when I was a kid. So I consider myself a Southerner by the grace of God.
Oh. Mhm.
Um, I spent a lot of time in Virginia mostly, and I never, I spent about 4 years in the Appalachians when I was going to college, and I sort of fell in love with the mountains and stuck around there forever. When I moved up to New York, I also moved to a place like right off the Appalachian Trail. So I like was constantly on the mountains, um, which is where largely the inspiration for this book came from. And then I moved to LA
Mhm.
because Roland Jones came up to me at a bar and was like, "Do you want a job?" I was like,
Okay.
"Yes." Oh my God. You're like, okay. Yeah. So that's why I moved to LA, which
Had
was
you been out west before, or was it kind of like your first?
I've been here maybe once, and like maybe for like 3 days, kind of seeing it from the back of a cab
Right.
because I was here for work,
Mhm.
right? So I came out here knowing nothing, knowing no one. I still know very little and know only a handful of people, but I'm
How
getting
it
better.
goes.
hmm
Are you enjoying it? Like, do you like being out there?
That's such a good question.
Oh, it's hard. I've
I
like
don't know.
try and answer this for you. I've like had, I mean, Val, we've talked like that's a huge move, and to move for a
Yeah.
job, like, and to not know, that's really scary. Like, I've been like applying. I'm like getting emotional right now. Why?
Be
Am I
real. Be
okay?
real.
I'm like applying for grad school and
Mm,
London. I mean, Val knows this. And it's like, oh my God, I'm literally gonna cry right now. Am I okay? Maybe I shouldn't go.
no. None
London,
of us
big,
are
big,
okay.
No,
it's
no.
big move mention.
But it's like you have to just like go for it at some point.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you like
I,
regret it, I guess. It's like if it doesn't work out, then you can always go home. But it's like that's so scary to dive in like that. So
Yeah.
That was absolutely my thought. It was one of those things where I realized that if I did not take this opportunity to work on Interview with the Vampire,
it's enticing offer.
Yeah.
I would regret it for the rest of my life. And I was like, I have to do this. Like, there's no other option. So we'll see how long I last. The weather's very nice. The food is very good. The people are also very kind, which disturbs me a little bit as someone who has lived in New York for
Yeah.
10 years. I'm like, stop
Yeah.
smiling at me. Don't ask me directions.
Like, do you want
Why
to
are you,
kill me? You're
Like
smiling at me. But
like,
it's
what are
also a
you
little bit
doing?
of that, it's also that Southern charm, you know? Like you're kind of you are used to that.
I am, but like I really hated it when I was in the South. I was one of those people. I was one of those uh the kind of Southerner that would like get together and drink wine as my neighbor's house was on fire. That's the kind of Southerner I was.
Okay. You were
Just
like
to
the
like
shady. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
baseline, I was not the guy
MySpace,
that
you're
like
thing.
I do feel
yeah.
Yeah.
like Southern passive aggressiveness, that's very unique to them, which I think is like church lady passive, pettiness.
It's
Yeah.
bless her
So
heart.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really that was the kind of Southern I was, where it was
Yeah.
just like,
So
oh boy.
what was so growing up in the South, military family obviously traveled
Mhm.
so much.
Yeah.
What were the constants in your life, media wise, book wise? What were the things that kind of that you loved growing up?
Star Wars was a big one. My father's a nerd, and he read me The Lord of the Rings when I was a kid. Like my bedtime story was Lord of the Rings.
So lovely.
I think,
That's really
yeah,
chic.
yeah,
That's so poetic.
yeah. Very, very fun. Very,
Mm.
very nice to tell people that one. He also really liked Edgar Allan Poe, so
Oh,
he would read
Stop.
me
Not
Edgar
my
Allan Poe.
on my what I'm reading list. Come on.
Yes, perfect.
Hoe heads rise.
But yeah, so like he would read Edgar Allan Poe to me as like a child when I
Which is
didn't know any of the
terrifying.
words.
Well, also
And
scary. Like horror
I mean, but
story.
that's the thing. Like he was just like, you just liked the way the words sounded. And I'm just like, oh my God, Dad, you made me like this.
Yeah.
This is
They're
why
a writer.
I'm like, this is how it happened.
Yeah.
So because of, military family and we never lived on base, So it really was just my family was a constant. The South was a constant. We never really went too far north. We lived mostly in Virginia,
Mhm.
and we went to Tennessee for a little bit. Sports. I was a jock. I swam and I did sailing.
Whoa,
And
I think sailing is one of the coolest things anyone can ever know how to do. And I really believe that it's like on my bucket list, my personal life goals is to like get into sailing. So that's so fun.
yes,
I'll ask you for tips.
yes, it was great. My tip is to wear a bikini, buy a six-pack of beer, show up to the yacht club on Wednesday nights and be like, who wants to take me out on a boat?
Perfect. Music to my ears.
I need to watch that
Yes.
movie. Like that, somebody
That's
needs to write that.
Yeah. Someone
that's
needs to write
literally my advice because
love.
that's how I did it.
Okay. Say less.
Yeah.
Wow.
So sailing and swimming were really very constant. Swimming especially, just doing that sports, reading, writing, that's kind of the stuff that
Mhm.
stayed the same throughout my
Mm.
childhood. When I was in high school, my mother retired from the military because she was like, I would like my children to have more than 2 years at the same school. So by the time I started high school, I had already like, that was my 10th school.
Whoa.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
Very,
really
very
tough.
wild. Yeah, so but luckily I was able to spend all 4 years in one place in one high school in Southern Virginia.
And is that kind of where your love for writing, for English, like a high school English class? We all had that. We all had that one
Mm.
professor. Do you think that's kind of where it blossomed, having time to hone a craft?
I'll be so real. I don't have like that one professor.
That's
That's
okay.
okay.
There's a couple that I really liked.
Mhm.
One of them was like a history professor. Another one was I believe like a Latin professor or a Latin teacher. So they were nice. I didn't do good. I did really well in high school. I got to college and I was like, this is a joke. And I was like, C's get degrees, and that was that. So I was a kind of like a bad student in college, like an exceptionally bad student.
Well, you wrote a book, so it all turned out okay, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah. It is one of those things where I was just so obsessed with like writing and reading and doing my
Yeah,
own thing that
the
the
science.
while
But
I like appreciate what
Mhm.
the university attempted to do for me, I was mostly just like, this isn't fun.
Did you go to school for journalism then, or did you go for like English writing, like narrative writing?
Right.
I I had a my major was in English literature
Mhm.
and my minor was in film studies.
Oh, great. Okay, you and Kim are twin flames essentially with the film.
Aw.
We love a little
Aw.
film. Throw it in. Come on.
But yeah. So
That's
that's kind of the origin story, I think, is my father reading those books to me, my mother taking me to the library every
Oh,
single time she could because she was just like, I don't know what to do with this child. Set
yeah.
them loose in the
Many
children's
such
section.
cases. Go to a librarian will tell you what to do with your kid.
Yes. So that's what my mother did. We also did like a lot of hiking, a lot of outdoor stuff. My father's was a sailor.
Oh,
Um, so that's how I got into boats. And what else? What else is like a good origin story? Oh, when I was 10, here's like the peak. I can pinpoint exactly when I knew I wanted to like be a part of storytelling. I was 10 years old. Uh, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring had come out that year, and I loved it. It was too scary for my little brother, but I loved it. Also, what came out that year was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Mhm.
I don't know what possessed my father to take a 10-year-old child
oh
to
my
go
gosh.
see Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
Hey,
but
Once
he
again,
did.
taste.
come on. Yeah,
But he did twice.
that's funny.
Twi Not once, but twice. You said you're coming
Twice.
with.
Wow.
You're
He's like,
coming
go watch
with.
Michelle yell. Come on.
Yeah. I
Wow.
mean, I want to ask the major question on my end of so you graduate college, great.
Yep.
What are the how did you get from that of C's get degrees to being approached to write for a show and to publish your own to publish a
Huh.
novel?
It sounds
How does that happen?
Yeah, I
Like
feel
how do
like it's
you publish a
different things.
book?
Because I want to talk really like a lot. I really want to dive into the idea of like
Yeah.
writing a book. Like, because that also like takes like self
So much.
confidence,
Yeah.
I guess, to do that. Like to be like, no, this is something I want to invest in. But then
Yes.
also, yeah, your
How it
pathway
goes from a
is,
pitch
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
Yes. So
There's
writing
a question
the way
there.
that you get published. So I am very grateful to be traditionally published, which means that I have a publishing company that has like taken care of all the nitty-gritty. And my agent, I have an agent, a literary agent who negotiated with the publishing company to get me a deal. My agent also did a lot of other stuff. But the way that publishing a book works is you have to have a full novel. You have to have the novel entirely written. And then what you do is you query, which is a very specific like cold emailing process where you send out like a very specific query email to agents in your genre that you would like to represent your work. And again, it's a formula. It really is that you tell them like, here's this novel. It's like these novels. It's this long.
Mm.
Here's like my personal experience that relates to it. And then
Mm.
like 2 paragraphs, like a tight 2 paragraphs of like, here is the entire novel. Do you want
Mm,
to read it?
wow.
We'll send you the pages.
I'll send you the page. So it's a very, very, very specific formulaic um, cold email process. You send that email out to agents. Agents will respond, or more likely, they just won't.
Right?
They just won't respond because they are super busy. And if they see something they don't like, no response means no, which is
Yes.
totally normal.
Right.
It's not a rejection. It's just
Right.
like you can't take it personally. I tell this to everybody. It's like you can't do it. But then eventually one agent will be like, I'd like to read your book, and you send it to them. And then the agent will be like, I'd like to get on a phone call with you. And then the agent will be like, I'd like to represent your book. And you're just like, perfect. And you sign on the dotted line. And you, depending on how editorially minded your agent is, you will go through like a round of edits with your agent on your book where they're like, here's what you need to do so I can sell it better.
Mhm.
Here's what you need to do to like make it a better book. And you're like, great, do edit. And then when she's happy, or he, my agent's Bridget Smith, so a woman. So when she's happy, she's just like, okay, great. And she starts emailing it to editors at publishing houses. And editors will be like, I'd like to read the whole thing. Or not for me, here's some feedback.
Mm,
Yeah.
And that feedback largely for the agent, so that the agent knows what to send them, not so that the
Mm.
author knows what they did wrong or what they should write.
Good to know.
Yes.
wow.
Yes. Sometimes they will like be like they'll say something nice about you and I'm just like, thank you. Okay. Maybe by now, like okay.
Like, great thing.
What am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah. The agent when the agent talks to you, it's for you. When the editor talks to your agent, it's for the agent. I was obsessive and I was like, I want to know everything that every editor says. So I
Yeah.
got a lot of feedback that I was like, oh yeah, this is for Bridget.
Like, oh, so
This isn't
sometimes
about me at all. Um,
that's overwhelming.
yeah. And if you're lucky and you like get to an agent at the right time and with the right book
Mhm.
with 100 other like factors that nobody has quite managed to decipher, not even the editors themselves. One of them will be like, we'd like to give you a call. And then you'll get on a call with them and then you will hand it over to your agent and your agent will negotiate so that they can buy your book. So it turns into
That
something like this.
hardcover.
That's so
So
cool.
before you started pitching to agents, you got, like you
Mm.
said, you had to write the novel. Let's kind of
Yes,
talk about that. Let's
Yeah,
talk about
totally.
how did you kind of go from I had this idea, this could be a short story, to I wrote an entire novel and I have
yeah.
this script that I could give to someone. How did you kind of
And
come up with this idea of Moth Theater? How did
when
you
did
get
you start
inspired?
writing? Like, how long
Yeah.
did it take you?
So I have had this kind of character in my head for a really long time.
Mm.
And I'd written a couple short stories about MOTHEATER, who's you find out really fast. Like her name is Esther, and she just doesn't remember it. So Esther, I've had like in my head for a really long time, wrote a couple short stories, like tried once to write a novel,
Mm.
and it just didn't work out. It didn't fit. I had one of the very first drafts of this book had her and Benny
Mhm.
go to Washington D.C. and like the novel is set in DC, and I was like, oh, that's so wrong. Like, what was I thinking? She needs to stay in Appalachia. It's like obvious. So been on and off in my head for a long time. But the first draft of the novel that eventually got published or will be published, I wrote in 40 days.
Wow.
Wow.
It
Wow.
was it was
I
much
literally wanted
shorter.
like years. That's crazy. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it hit you.
You hunkered down and where did you write it? Where did you
It
find?
was, yeah, I mean, it was the pandemic, right?
Mm,
It was like the very, very start of the pandemic. So I was writing, I was inside all the time.
yeah. Oh, so this is your baby. Your baby's 5 years old, and
I
that's crazy.
know. The first version was only like 40,000 words, 40,000, 50,000. So like just bumping up on the edge of like a novella,
Right.
which is how it got written in 40 days. But the final version is like 110, 108,000
You
words.
almost doubled that.
It's a,
Yeah.
yeah, it doubled. Maybe even, yeah, doubled. When I was in Beacon, I was really lucky that I was able to afford I had an office.
Mhm.
So I just wrote in my office every morning.
Wow.
So what could you sum up the
Yeah.
finished product for the listeners at home who they're hearing MOTHEATER, they're seeing Lin Codega. What do they have to know about this movie? What this movie, this book, this eventual manifesting. Exactly. What do they have to know about this book? Who is it? Who would like it? If you like this, you'll like that. Kind of just to perk their ears up a bit.
So MOTHEATER is an Appalachian contemporary fantasy following two women as they fight against the coal mining industry in a small town.
Period.
Period.
Yeah.
And I'm sad.
Thank you. To go into like some more detail, it's dual timelines. It's very much deals with the contradictions and the back and forth of the area. It's directly inspired by the yellowfinch tree sits, which was a 2 to 3 year long protest against the Mountain Valley pipeline in Appalachia, kind of in the area where this is set, where people would sit in trees to block equipment from getting into Appalachia to build this pipeline. So directly inspired by the yellowfinch tree sits and the Appalachians Against Pipelines coalition. So shout out to them. Doomed to the pipeline. Just doomed to the pipeline. The pipeline would go like right through the Appalachian Trail.
Wow.
It would go through like
Same.
Jefferson National Forest. It would really destroy like so much wildlife, and there's always like the risk for it to leak, for it to poison the water and the earth, and to just really impact untold generations of people. Anyway, sorry to get on my soapbox.
No, this is what we want to know.
Like
doomed to the pipeline.
Like, and it's the fact that there's a debate around it. The fact that people are pushing for it, and it seems like trying to convince them otherwise that it's not a good idea is like,
exactly.
That's a hard fight.
It's conversations and novels like this and stories like this where, even though it is a fantasy novel, that's the genre of it. You can see how you can make something that's so fantastical, but it's a true narrative that's actually happening in society and in our own country right now.
It's that idea that like life is crazier and worse than like anything that you could write or make a movie about. It's like the perfect villain. It's like
It's totally
like it's not even made up.
So that's kind of the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
It's takes place in two timelines, in Esther's timeline in the late 1800s and in Benny's timeline in the present day. It draws on traditional Appalachian neighbor work, which is kind of the like native magic in the area, not Native American magic, but like native the immigrants who like settled in that area were largely like Scottish, Irish, and they kind of like went from the Highlands to these Highlands.
Mhm.
But the magic tradition is like very much based on scripture and hedge
Mm.
magic, and I incorporated a lot of that in this book.
Mhm.
So it's very much in the same vein as the magic that was traditionally practiced, and it's called being a neighbor, is when you are
Mm.
like a
Love
witch
that.
or a magic user.
That's fun.
So
I'm a
yeah, an
sucker. I'm
Appalachian
a
native.
sucker for. I'm a sucker for witchcraft. Like the way that I feel like
Yeah.
Pam loves like vampire media. I love a little witch.
All right. Fuck you, first of
No,
all,
no, no,
because
no, no. I mean
no,
this.
no, no. I like my witchcraft too. My
Well,
tarot
the girls
cards
are
and my
fighting. No,
crystals. Like,
my
okay.
sister. I did not mean it as an insult. Your sister, I misspoke.
Thank
But
you.
but I do love things like that. And I've
Yeah.
been to Appalachia a whopping one time. I went to Boone,
Mm.
and it was a
Mm,
lovely little mountain city.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
I can't
I
speak
mean,
high.
anytime you're outside in a space like that, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's overwhelming. I'm just
I mean,
like, this is so
right, like
beautiful.
there's
It's
obviously
all.
there is like this commodification of like witchcraft. Like we see that now. Like we're kind of
Mhm.
Yeah,
it's a capitalist endeavor thing now, which kind of like
right.
goes against the whole roots. But when you're in a space like that, it's like, no, there is something very spiritually and magical about this. And I think
Yeah.
going on, I mean, that's what witchcraft is all about, is like nature and being one with the
Right.
earth. So
Yeah.
like,
What's more magical than the earth doing her
yeah.
thing
Did
and
you have to
protecting
do
her?
like research
Like,
for that? Come on.
yeah, yeah. What
None
was
of
the
them.
research process like? That's a
Yeah,
great
like
question.
when did you kind of approach, was it when you were doing your hikes and stuff that you discovered these elements? Are you drawn to like, be in thy neighbor? Come on. Is that
I'm not particularly witchy myself. I certainly have a pretty extensive tarot card collection. Um, and I certainly believe in a
something?
kind of inherent value in every living creature, sort of like into animism kind of vibes. But I'm not really a very spiritual person. I think stories are
Mm,
kind of my religion more than anything else. Um,
okay, quote that. That's
Wow,
beautiful.
that's a bar.
That was, yeah, just dropping that line on us. Okay.
no problem. I'll
We're
try and
like,
do more
hey,
of that.
let's clip that. We're clipping
Yeah.
that.
Great. Uh, but yeah, so I think the research that I did, I read a lot of accounts of the area from the 1800s. I talked to a
Wow.
lot of my friends. There is a website that um one of my main characters is Black, so I did a lot of research on um how Black populations evolved in Appalachia and what that was like. I did research on how the Civil War affected both white and Black folks in Appalachia, because West Virginia basically seceded from Virginia during the Civil War. They were just like, we've
Yeah,
decided this. Like, we're not holding with this." So there's a lot of rich history there with the way that Appalachia has treated and mistreated Black people in the area. And
yeah,
it
and
just
census of it all of who counted as a citizen or as property. And
totally.
hey, yeah,
Yeah, and there was a period of time where the Appalachian population was a quarter Black, so which is a higher percentage than a lot of places in America. So it just felt really, when I was sort of thinking about this novel, Benny was always Black. It just her sense of justice, her sense of like um right and justice, right and wrong, her sense of like vengeance. It just really felt to me like it would be disingenuous to not have people of color in this book. And
absolutely.
it was just such a limited cast. Like I didn't want this to be a big book. I didn't want to have like a huge cast of characters, and I didn't want to just sort of be like, and as an afterthought, here's like a Black side character. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
like it felt really disingenuous to the area if I was to make it an entirely white or majority white cast. So I did a lot of research into how Black people live in Appalachia. There's this one independent journalism site called Black by God that is a Black focused publication, a Black focused journalism publication in based out of West Virginia. So I read that. There's a there was another column by an underground miner, not in Black by God, but in Yonder, yeah, which is another publication that, and this journalist talked about what it was like to work in the mines, like work in the
Wow.
mountain. Um, and so he's like a miner and a journalist. So that was a really impactful piece
Kind of like
of
first hand out.
absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like
To be able
the
to.
sort of like underground mining still happening. Like
Yeah, exactly.
it's obviously like not as common, but in the towns where it happens, it's the whole town. The whole town is so
Yeah,
reliant on it.
yeah.
The whole
Um,
region.
Well, this is like, I mean, what I kind of was drawn with your book too. And like when I read that, like my grandpa was a miner, like,
mhm.
he died from like black lung, like from inhaling that.
Wow.
Still, I mean, in Iowa, like we have a lot of mines near us still.
Mhm.
We have like roads caving in from like
Yeah.
and how they've tortured the
Decades
earth.
of that.
But I think that's what I was kind of it's that it's also like a very violent, like we're talking about nature and stuff, and it feels like a very violent, like patriarchal, like thing that you're digging into the earth,
Yeah.
like, and the
Quite literally digging into it.
and you're
Like
like literally like
tearing her apart.
penetration, like yeah,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I think then to have a female queer story kind of going against this very
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I think that if you have any sort of knowledge of what mining does to the earth, and you're just like, well, that doesn't seem very fair. I think you might like this book.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't
If
seem
you
right.
hate Joe Manchin, you'd hate this. Like you'll love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you love Minecraft, which I do, might not
Who
like them.
knows? Who knows? Jury's out on Minecraft fans. That's a lot of the research that I did. I also have in the very back of the book, I was able to put in a little historical notes section.
Oh, that's so nice.
So I talk about some of the books that I read. Yes. Gary
Love
Bentley's
that.
column. So Gary Bentley's column in the Black in the Daily Yonder, which was the
That-
first-hand account.
So I wish every novel I wrote or every novel I read, excuse me, had that. That would be so helpful to know, like, just the little tidbits, even if it's not everything. What are the major things that stood out to
If
you?
you want to
That's
go back, if you want to dive more into a concept or a
exactly,
world,
yeah. Or just like for transparency reasons,
Well,
without
and
kind of
yeah,
giving the magic
that's
away.
that's kind of
Yeah.
the beauty of like writing a book too, is like you are doing all of this, like you are exposing yourself to a world and learning more. Like it's very funny to me that you said you didn't, seize good degrees, but the process of writing this book is like you're doing a massive
Discipline,
amount of research
a
and
lot of
and then like writing an essay, like you're applying it then. It's kind of the ultimate learning experience in a sense.
Yeah.
what was the biggest thing, maybe the most unexpected thing you learned, maybe just about the writing process, the topic itself, during diving into this and having your own personal beliefs, your biases in this, and your personal connection to the region, and then all of a sudden writing a book about it? Kind of, what's the biggest thing you've learned?
Yeah. I think that while just before this book was happening and while I was writing this book, there was a groundswell of support for the Black Lives Matter movement.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing people support that was really great. And then seeing people do nothing afterwards was also like really incredibly frustrating. So,
Posted a Black Square on Instagram, actually. So.
Yeah, many such cases. We learn that we're doing wrong and we do nothing afterwards.
yeah, so there was a point, and I was in New York at the time, and I was in an area of New York that was very liberal, and I sort of lived, um, I thought that I'd gotten out of the South, right? I thought I was like, okay, like it's not really as much of a problem here. And then I think a few years before that, like around 2015 or 2016, I started getting really active
Mhm.
in groups, in activism groups, in social justice organizations, and surge, and abolitionist groups, and anti-carceral groups specifically. That was like the thing that I really focused my energies on, because I was like, I can only do so much. Here's what I'm gonna do. So being a part of anti-carceral and abolitionist groups while I was writing this, while the country was just failing people and failing Black people specifically, it was very made me even more radical than I previously was, and I was already like kind of on the edge of anarchy. I think really writing this book pushed me to think really hard about how people see the South, how people see Appalachia specifically, and how people view people who are perhaps like poor, who don't have a lot of choices, who are stuck in this kind of class society, this caste society of class, and how people like think of rednecks and hicks and hillbillies. And I'm a little bit of a hillbilly myself,
It's a really timely book to be like, this issue. Yes, we're talking about like the coal mining industry, and like how does that time into climate change and activism and just surviving all of that. I think like people, the coastal elites, when they can't see the coal mines in their backyard, they think it doesn't affect them, and they think that these stories just don't matter when they simply matter. So it's incredibly timely and incredibly.
And I think now more than ever, that community building, people coming together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another book that I read to sort of make sure that I was like, even if I don't fully understand the politics of the area, to like portray it in a way that was respectful, was this book called White Trash. It's White Trash: The 400-Year Untold History of Class in America. It's by Nancy Eisenberg. But it's really wonderful, and it definitely it dives into the intersections of classism and racism, and sort of says how, and explains how they have always worked together to disenfranchise everybody, and especially to like disenfranchise people of color. But yeah, White Trash is an incredibly good book to read, to sort of kind of understand why people stay in the places that are kind of bad for them.
We've obviously gone.
I thought this conversation was going to go.
Yeah, I was going to say this has obviously gone dark and real. So on a positive note, what would you say was like the rose of writing this book, and kind of the doors that it's opened for you? What would you say? Would you say the best part of it was?
So I think the best part of writing this book is I wrote. So I finished the first draft, and I was like, okay, this is not necessarily good enough. I need to make this like bigger and better. So as I was doing that first round of expansion revisions, I did it alongside, and again, sort of in the middle of the pandemic, so in like 2020, 2021, there was a really, really small writing group that I put together with me and my friends. So I think one of the roses for writing this book was being able to kind of workshop a lot of the expansion in that really small, contained, like, friend group that they weren't necessarily writers. They did write, and they were like, one of them's working on a book now, but it was just a huge bonding moment for me. One of my favorite points while I was in that space was one of my friends read the prologue. Didn't even like the prologue that like never made it into the book. The prologue that like never even got sent to the editor. Like the editor did not read this. It was just so one of my friends like read the prologue. It was like, I don't want to read any more of this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just like, okay, that's fine. And she was like, I'm gonna read it when it's published.
Aww.
And then she did. She like sent me like a long text message a couple weeks ago. But yeah.
That's sweet.
Well, that was one of the questions I kind of was kind of interested in, like you being in a writing room now. I mean, not even like just as an assistant, but and then even like in the journalism space, you have colleagues that you're reading, where when you think of writing a book, it seems like a very isolated type of thing, but that wasn't the case for you. You still had this support, which is kind of lovely.
Yes, definitely had the support, but I think that it is isolating. It's lonely. You sit at your computer and
Especially
you
in the
write
pandemic.
however many words you need to write to
Yeah.
get to your goal. So I think as much as community helps and support helps and having people to like trade pages with is obviously incredibly important.
Trading pages, what a cool concept. Like what a cool name. Trading pages. Love
Trading
that.
pages. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's hard to underestimate just how isolating it can be, but I think that that's part of the fun of it, man. Like you are sitting there and you're creating little worlds and you're doing everything you want. And
Cool.
these
You
characters,
have
like
complete control, whatever you
my
decide.
my Barbies are kissing.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, like I can make them do whatever. You can make them do anything. And I guess kind of piggybacking off of that, you have such a strong, I feel like you hone and you tone this muscle and you train this muscle of I know how to make my own world. I know how to write for myself. I know my voice. And not really having someone immediately there to kind of like shoot the shit with and kind of bounce off ideas. How did that what was the pivot like from making this entire world that you're very proud of to then joining a writer's room for a world that
Has been
existed?
built and consumed.
Yes. So what was that? Kind of a mind fuck, I imagine.
Yeah, so weird. It was so weird. It was one of those things where the way that I got this job was very odd. I
Yeah, story.
was
Applied for
story
it. You
time.
were just
Story
like
time.
hanging out.
I want story
Yeah.
time. I want story time for this. I'm
Yeah,
sad.
yeah. So I was a journalist at IO9. IO9 is kind of a larger science fiction fantasy nerd outlet, covers media of all kinds. And I was the reporter who wrote about Interview with a Vampire for season one. So I wrote reviews, I did interviews with the cast members, I met a couple of them in person. I did critique, like I watched an episode and I was like, here's what I think about the episode, here's how it relates to Anne Rice. Like,
Had you read the books before? Were you like an Anne Rice?
yes,
Got you.
yes. Oh
Yeah.
God. Yes, I've read not the entire series because some of the books towards the end especially are like a little
I
wacky.
think that's what so I started reading The Vampire Lestat because my friend's doing a read along. So we're like reading it as a group.
That's cool.
Very cool. But I'm like, I want to read it because I want to get to the weird shit. I want Jesus. I want
I want to
aliens.
get to the weird
No, I'm the
shit.
opposite. I'm like, let me jump ahead.
Jesus is a book 5.
Okay, so let me
Jesus is in book
close
5.
this. Sorry, Kirsten, I'm not reading it anymore. I'm jumping into
Roland Jones is a very considerate, nice man. So after the season 1 wrapped and uh after season 1 wrapped and the show was over and like the criticism, again, criticism not negative, just criticism in general, like, so writing
Critique.
positive, yeah, critique. So once the media criticism had kind of like died down and people were moving on to the next thing, he took time and he emailed a lot of journalists. I'm assuming he emailed me, and I'm assuming that I wasn't the only one. Like,
I think it was just you, main
I
character.
think me too. Like, what if it was?
And
what
who's
if
the
it
one
might
in
have
the
been?
writer's room? You, babe. So come on.
It might have been. I don't know. I never asked, but he emailed me at the very least and was like, "Hey, I wanted to thank you for the writing you did. We really enjoyed reading it. We really felt like you understood the show, and like, we can't wait for you to see season 2." And I'm just like, "Oh, Roland, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's very sweet." So we kind of like kept in very, very casual contact that way. And when I was laid off from IO9, I had been planning to do Interview with the Vampire season 2. And I had kept I had been able to like retrieve most of my contacts. And I sort of, when the season started to come around, I emailed him and I was like, "Hey, I know that like we were planning on doing an interview together. I just want to let you know that I was like laid off from IO9 and freelancing is terrible. So thank you so much, blah, 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 blah." And he was, yeah, so he was nice and kind enough. He was like, well, do you want to come to the premiere anyway? And I was like,
You will see the gates of
yes.
Let me get my outfit. Come on.
Yeah, I was like, yes, I do want to go to the premiere. So again, like Rollin, just a very kind man,
So
got me on the list. I got there, I said hi to him, and then we ended up at the bar together. And he was like,
I
so
love all.
he was like, so what are you doing nowadays? And I'm like, I'm mostly just writing, doing my own thing. I'm writing about games. And he's like, uh-huh. Would you want to move to LA? I
Crazy.
was like, what?
That's crazy.
I would have been like, my little martini dropped to
Yeah.
like,
Spit.
So
like,
so we're both just like, I'm just like standing there with my little flute of champagne. I'm just like,
Yeah.
like,
yes, keep
We're like,
talking.
I
yeah,
mean,
hee ha ha.
right.
So yeah, I didn't quite believe him when he offered because I was like, oh, like we're at a bar and he was being nice. So I
Well,
followed up.
like it's very nice it's not like
Okay.
I think it's so easy to like gaslight ourselves and think like we don't deserve this and stuff, but clearly he had noticed this in you and truly meant
Right.
it.
Which was really like again, very, very kind of him, very nice. One of a very genuine man in a way that I think Hollywood doesn't usually produce. And I just sort of like followed up with him and he was like, yeah, I'm serious. Like show up around this time. And I'm like, okay,
You're
okay, I
like,
guess
oh my
so.
God,
Like,
let me get on my Zoom. Let me
yeah.
let me book a plane ticket, I guess. Wow,
But I
that's
mean
like
also like just the idea, the industry as being a whole other beast of like
right.
money and having a job and like being employed, like, and then to
Yeah.
have something that you really care about and love. I mean, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Totally. So that's kind of how I got the job. One of the things that I have found in the writer's room that
Yeah.
is really has correlated with my life is I play a lot of tabletop role-playing games.
Love that.
And I think that playfulness and that style of interaction with stories
Mm,
has really helped me
mm,
understand what's happening in the writer's room.
mhm.
Because the writer's room, it's a bunch of people sitting around and being like, here's the episode, what should happen? And people are just pitching. People are like, what if this happens? What if this
Ooh.
happens? What if this happens? And we sort of like sort through things and we figure out like, oh, okay, like that's good. That fits in with this larger story. Like this is a good scene. This we can add these emotions into it. So a lot of that is very similar to what happens on a tabletop role-playing game where you're sitting there and you just be like, well, what if my character goes and tries to lockpick the door and the DM is like, roll a d20. So instead of like a DM saying roll a d20, it's Ron Jones being like, yeah, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Mhm. It's
Like
almost like
it's keep
improv in a
talking.
sense. Like you're just really like you have the
Yeah, it's yes and.
yeah.
Very much improv. Very yes and
How many
very
people would you say are at the table with you during this time? Like, are there too many? How do you almost like feel with like there's not too many cooks in the kitchen? Because that's kind of where I feel like I would kind of lose my mind a bit.
there kind of always is. It's one of those things where you just sort of have to like that's just the way it is. That's just the way that writers' rooms are. Is
Yeah,
that there's always people who want to say things.
Mm,
I think by the time you get into a writer's room, by the time a writer is in the writer's room, they've been able to regulate and think and understand that like if they don't pitch now, they can pitch later. Like it's not a big like talking over people happens, but
mhm.
it's very much I think people understand when an idea is good enough to like say. So it's a
yeah,
lot of people being good at their jobs mostly.
Right. Well, I think like that's like this is obviously like a very safe space and I think like, an inclusive space, but I can definitely see that in other writers' rooms where certain voices are heard over others. Like, I mean, it's the whole idea of like, for me and Val, I think as like people entering a freelance critic space, like learning to send that email that I know my male colleague has sent months ago of
yeah,
asking, so learning kind of to speak up for yourself and
yeah. Figuring out what the
Totally.
difference of like ego and being like, no, I'm in this room
I
for a
actually
reason.
yeah,
I
that
have
that
something to say. And
Yeah.
when what and I feel like that's such a skill to know I can hold back. And
Mhm.
because I know I won't run out of good ideas because you are creative,
Yeah.
because you are passionate about it. Like kind of knowing that balance is really important.
Yeah. Knowing when the right time to speak up is always really key. There's a couple people who, keep a lot to themselves, and then when they finally do talk, you're just like, forget
Ah!
it. Just like, oh God,
That's
write that
awesome.
down now. Like, love of God.
Love that.
So my job isn't to pitch. My job is not to pitch. I am lucky enough that in this writer's room, I am allowed to do so. But my job is to sit there and write notes. And that's my
And absorb
focus.
it all.
Yeah, just take it all in, write the notes, make sure everything looks good, make sure everyone understands what's happening afterwards. So yeah, luckily again, the room is gracious enough to allow me to every now and then throw out an idea, but I definitely try to
It's
not
your
do
first
it.
time in this space too, like within the industry, like in
Yeah,
scripted, writing. So it's like you're learning a lot from that too. Like that's
absolutely.
just jump to be thrown into.
I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to contribute value where I can. I think that the people in the room definitely respect that I know the material and that I'm specifically in the room because Ron liked my writing. So I'm sure it doesn't hurt that like my
Yeah,
novel, like I have a novel coming out. But
you're a
yeah, I
writer
think
yourself, yeah, but
yeah.
also have kind of reported on the industry and the space, and you know both worlds, which I think is really helpful.
Yeah.
You know both worlds exactly. What would you say is something that's been influencing inadvertently your now like journalism writing, your
Your own.
short form writing, yeah, your personal writing
Yes.
after being in a writer's room?
So I am currently in the middle of writing my next novel.
I was gonna ask you what your future holds.
Yeah, you heard
This
it
is
here
the pathway you wanted to keep
first.
Yeah.
going. Yeah,
Wow.
that's exciting.
So yeah, so I was really my agent was really great. MOTHEATER was sold as a part of a two-book deal.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
That's so exciting.
congratulations.
So we are not getting a sequel to MOTHEATER. MOTHEATER is a standalone book. It's done.
Yes.
But I'm writing the next book in that deal. And I was able to
Like
sell.
congrats. Like
Yeah, I
just
know.
like
I'm so
so cool.
seriously, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Like, and it's also not a sequel. Like, they just said we like your writing.
Writing is
Yes,
Do
that.
something else. I feel like that's even bigger.
I know. I'm so excited. This one, so MOTHEATER is contemporary, inspired by like my time in the South in Appalachia. This one's much more about like pirates.
Oh, well,
Say
like,
like
yeah, we
Wait,
support you
wait.
all the
Pirates are
tropes. We got the
so in.
witches, we got the fire.
Pirates are so in. Let's go. Let's give me. I
yeah,
want the bloomers and the
Pirates
sailing
first.
of it
Yeah.
all. Wait, I see
the
the
You love
vision.
sailing.
the sailing. So
I
yeah.
see the
Oh, full
vision.
circle. There's something there. Oh,
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, you can tell how wet I am by how pink I get. It's so funny. I'm so pink. But yeah, so I'm writing that book, and a couple of the things that I have really tried to take forward into this new novel is the idea is like if I'm ever feeling like something is not working, I'm just like, how do I make it more tense?
Mm,
How do I if something isn't working in a scene, it's probably because there's not enough tension.
yeah.
mm.
And this is sort of exemplified by the sandwich. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. There's this one scene in this one film, and it's like a cop film, and it's two people talking to each other. And the first like cut of this scene was with just these two people talking and like having this banter. And it wasn't working. There wasn't the tension. There wasn't like the zhuzh in it, right? And I'm sure that you can find this online, and I'll feel really dumb for forgetting it. But the director was like, eat a sandwich. So one guy is like trying to eat a sandwich, and the other guy's like trying to talk to him. And it just like immediately adds that tension to it. Whereas this guy is just like so focused on something that doesn't matter on his sandwich, while this guy's like, there's been murders. And the guy's like, I'm trying to eat
I'm trying to
my
have this.
pastrami. Like,
Right. Please, I just want more to tell them. Please let me enjoy this.
yeah. So I think being in the writer's room and realizing just how important that is, that like the tension needs to be kept up every single scene, in order to have those like moments of high tension, the breaks, the moments of high tension, the breaks. So really incorporating that into my writing now is definitely helpful.
Mhm.
It is unfortunately making everything like way longer than I thought it would be. I'm just like,
That's okay.
oh
Well, it's
God.
also, I mean, it's such a different approach too for
Yeah.
like, I mean, what, it's like a page is a minute? Is that the, like, you know, to write a scripted show, versus a novel, like it's,
Yes.
you still have to approach it much differently than and a script. I mean, obviously it's
Wow.
dialogue.
When you
Yes.
put it like that is
You have to
crazy.
build a world like that, where, and with a script, you know, it's kind of the director's
Yeah.
job to do that. The actor has some control there, where a narrative world is yours.
Yeah, let me. So I'm gonna pull up a script to look at. But basically, the difference in between a book and a script, like a magnitude that is
Yeah.
really,
I feel like
really
people,
massive.
I think people wouldn't think that, and that's the thing, where it's like, no,
Yeah.
it's a different approach.
I
I think,
read
yeah, it's
so I read a ton of scripts, not only for work, but just because like I am part of why I'm out here is to like really commit and see if like
that,
can I make it
that's
as a screenwriter?
that's
Is
what
this
I was
something I
gonna
want to
ask.
do?
Right,
Yeah.
So
right.
I read a lot of scripts, but
The
to
pipeline is gonna be like, I see it. I see it. I see it. I know what's gonna happen.
that'd be
It's so
cool.
cool.
I'd love that. One of my friends was like, "You should write a script of MOTHEATER," and I'm like, "Fuck,
Yeah,
you're right.
I
Like
think
I
you
should."
should. It's also
I
the
see.
game, less
It's
sausage,
a
less.
literally
Like,
it is a Hulu limited series. I see
come
it.
on, let's go. Get that
I
deal.
already. That's gonna be Golden Globe
So
nominated.
true. They got that, like, did they do Where the Crawdads? They love it. They love people in the
And you know,
South.
yes, produced. It's gonna be produced by
By Reese
Reese
Witherspoon.
Witherspoon.
Oh, gotta eat
It's
this
I see
now.
it.
I need you guys as my hype team. This is incredible.
Reese's book club. You're so right. She'd eat this
Oh,
up.
that's so
And
funny.
you
She would
mentioned
eat it
Tennessee.
up. You're gonna have the little sticker on there. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, so I just looked. A
Yes.
script from season 1 of Interview with the Vampire is less than 10,000 words.
Wow. Yeah.
So scripts are, you know, poetry in a way. Scripts
Bones.
are very much,
Yeah.
they are trying to communicate what other people need to do to make a story happen. It's not the
Yep.
finished
Yep.
product.
Wait, acting is so beautiful. Like,
I mean, I think directing. I always thought I wanted to
directing,
be a writer
producing.
growing up, and it's like, no, the director. I love a director. They in there. They in
We
that.
love media.
Give me the B-roll.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think seeing the difference is like my books are 10 times longer.
Right. Yes. Quite literally.
My books are 10 times longer than
But
any
even
individual
like, so
script.
and let's just say like 7 episodes of a TV, they're all around 10K. That's still shorter than your book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
gag.
Yeah. It's just crazy. So,
I love this world so much. I love humans. We said we're gonna write stories.
we're gonna do stories. We're just gonna do this our whole lives.
Our whole existence, our whole humanity.
So yeah, finding ways to make tension interesting is fun. Makes the book longer, but
Yeah,
it's
and
an
like human, you know, like
yes.
that the sandwich, that's what you're doing. So to understand like human nature is also part of that, where it's not just two people having a tense conversation. Usually it's like there's other things going on. And
Yeah. You always have to have that like third that thing to like plus the scene is how
yeah,
we call it in the room. But you have to like plus the scene, you have to make it more intense, you have to make it more stakes. You have to give it more stakes. You have to like add the tension. You have to
Plus
make
the
it more
scene.
clear. Yeah.
That
Plus
is
the
literally
scene.
that's title of Ebb.
Plus
Plussing the scene.
Plus the scene.
Who up plussing their scene? Sorry.
Yeah.
hey, I did not like that one bit.
Me
I don't
either. I immediately
No,
said sorry,
we're
sorry,
cutting
sorry,
that.
sorry, sorry. Hate it.
I don't want to have some fun. I
Yes.
mean, we've been having some fun questions as we wind down. Was there any I mean, we talked a lot about this, the kind of depressed things that inspired
That
you.
inspired you. Yeah.
Was there fun music? Did you have a playlist that you listened to? Any
I
music
have
you watched?
3 playlists. I think I
Oh,
might have 4 playlists. I can share them with you. But yeah,
Yeah, well, we can read them.
a lot of bluegrass, a lot of banjo, a lot of country and like country trap music.
oh, never heard those two words put together in my life until now.
Yeah, I definitely have
Wait, like name an artist. Name an artist that you're thinking of.
Knock If You Buck is on Benny's playlist.
I can't say. Oh wait, did you make playlists for characters?
Yes.
Characters. That's iconic.
I love that. Okay, yeah,
Oh no,
that's
actually, you will have to share. I think you need to share for everybody when the book
I
comes out because
will.
Yeah,
as a reader, I love that stuff.
I
Like
agree. That really helps me dive into the world, and I love when people are like, I think that's a fun thing that
Are
I
you
love as a
prepared for like me
Oh,
as a fanfic enjoyer? Are you prepared for people to write fanfics of your characters?
I am very prepared for people to write fanfics of my characters. I
I will
am
be first in
a
line.
notorious
That's gonna
fanfic
be
writer.
Oh my
That's gonna be-
God. Oh, this is like a whole. So I had a million questions about fanfic because
Sure,
Val
sure,
hates
sure,
it.
sure.
No.
But
I'll let y'all gab.
Yeah, wait.
I read
What was
fanfic
a really
every
good
day. I read
one?
more fanfic than books, and Val thinks that doesn't count. And I think I can read my porn if I want.
You can read your smut if you want.
Do you think it's helped you writing
Oh
fanfic?
yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean,
thank
I've
you.
been writing
That's all I had to say.
fanfic since I was 10.
Yeah, same. Come on.
Yeah, and
Cam, write a book.
there is like no way that I would have written MOTHEATER if I hadn't written fanfic.
Ooh.
I think there's also like I tell Val this. There's beautiful fanfic that I've read.
Beautiful.
It
And
is some of
I
the best
agree.
prose that I've ever read.
Yeah,
And
I'm sure it exists, and
it's not all just like smut stuff.
I'm aware of truly it's not only cultural permeance, but it's cultural importance. I am aware of that.
I
Like,
think
it
it
is
has been tainted by
undeniable.
what's been published. There's fanfic that's been published that, is not good examples of it, obviously. But there is like when I'm reading a good fanfic too, like there's not even a lot of smut in it. Like a lot of
It's a
times like,
rom-com.
if
You're
the
reading a rom-com.
character- I mean, no, I'm reading like depressed, like Louis has an eating disorder type shit. Like I'm reading like is trying to
I
overcome.
do have a couple interview fanfics up.
You wrote them?
Yeah, with season 1. I didn't know I would end up
Wait,
here.
you really manifested that.
Oh, I
You
will
really-
be finding your AO3. I probably have read it, honestly.
Oh god.
Wait, Lynn, would you think like, how there's like lookalike contests that like should kind of like end now? But do you think once the fanfics start coming, do you think that you would like reach out to the authors and be like,
Oh, that
hey,
cool.
yeah, like
No. Fanfic is not for me as an author, right?
Okay.
Like I can appreciate it. I can really I'll enjoy it if it happens. If I read it, I will not tell anyone I read it. It's one of those things where like there's a lot of like legal things just tied up in that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate
So hear
fanfic,
no
but
evil, see no evil.
yes, exactly. It's not even it's not even that. It's like if you read anything, not just fanfic, right? If you read anything and you accidentally plagiarize it, or if you accidentally plagiarize it, that's a problem.
Right.
So for MOTHEATER, let's say MOTHEATER did get picked up for a television series,
Right.
and I wanted to change things. If I had read MOTHEATER fanfic, I would instantly be kind of on the
You're so
hook.
right. You're so right. Yeah. Even inadvertently, you'd like
Yes.
you would do something.
Right.
You just be
yeah.
Right.
Oh, difficult.
So if it happens, I would be very happy to see it. Very like pro
I'll link
fanfic.
you. I'll write a fanfic for you, and you can still know. I'll let you.
I think that there's a lot of opportunity for fanfic. There's a lot of like you could I can definitely see someone writing a fix-it fic for the ending.
But okay. I'm scared.
Yeah, so fanfic, a huge part of my life. Definitely have some interview fanfic out there.
Favorite movie, TV adaptations of a book?
Well, Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, well, fine. Not that, but
we were missed to say.
No. just stumbled right into that one.
Yeah, that was my bad, y'all. But,
what else is a really good adaptation that I liked? Honestly, like it's really cheesy, but sorry, I have a stutter sometimes. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, immaculate. The first 3, just so good.
Did you watch the animated movie? Do you care? War of the Rings.
Do you care?
Clap if you care.
The War of the Rohirrim, not yet. It's something I want to watch.
It looks good.
I'm very interested in it. Really liked those characters, Eowyn, Theoden, um, the Carl Urban man, the Carl Urban one, whoever he did, he was great too.
I mean,
Really
I'm
good
excited
adaptation.
for the Odyssey Christopher Nolan adaptation that we're going to be getting. I'm excited.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, my guilty pleasure, my like guilty pleasure adaptation is the Brad Pitt Troy show. Speaking of,
I just like had a seizure, I think. This is the safest space to say that. I've seen the director's cut. I think Eric Bana is the perfect Hector. I've been pushing the Paul Mescal as Hector agenda after seeing Gladiator. I think it would be really good.
oh God, I don't know what to tell you. Something about that film just like scratches
No,
everything,
I
all the itches.
it's also like the most pretty. I mean, I hate
It's
Brad Pitt.
so,
It's a beautiful.
You do, you really
And
do.
he's beautiful in that,
but
and
it's the best he's ever looked, is when
it's the
he's
best
like
any
rolling
person,
around in dirt.
as any person's ever looked.
One of my
Those movies have been
favorite adaptations is the 2011 movie, The Eagle.
okay. And
It's so it's originally like a one of the first kind of like,
Channing Tatum.
Yeah, I said
yes,
whole.
let me tell you about this.
Jamie
It started
Bell.
out, so the book is
Holy
called
shit.
Jamie
We're
Bell.
interrupting you.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Channing Tatum. Yeah, no, please keep talking.
Thank
Dawn
you.
Sutherland.
I know, it's everybody. It's
This movie has everything epic, dangerous, and gripping. Oof. Ooh, I'm touching my
Okay.
pearls. Yeah, pitch me.
the book. The book is called The Eagle of the Ninth. It's based on the, again, air quotes, true story of a Roman emblem, like an eagle that was like carried into battle, right? So like a cast bronze eagle, part of a like a herald carried into battle. These Roman soldiers went into northern England, so like Scotland kind of area. And at that time it was full of Picts, and they kind of like this is the Ninth Legion. They disappeared, basically.
Okay.
And the eagle itself was a symbol of Rome, and therefore it when it was lost, all honor lost. Eagle lost, honor lost. So Channing Tatum plays Marcus Aurelius. No, Marcus
No, oh, it's
Aquila.
yeah, Marcus
Oh,
Aquila.
okay.
Because
I was like,
I also
that's a
I
gladiator
saw that and I
giant.
was like, I looked up Marcus Aquila Gladiator.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah,
let me make sure that this is not yes, but
There's
yeah.
a
No,
robot.
no. Marcus Aurelius was like a very like renowned emperor. Marcus Aquila is a fake person that was made up for this show. That's played by Channing Tatum. So Marcus
Thank
Aquila
God.
is the son of one of the men who like lost, who was in this Ninth Legion, who lost the eagle. And he makes it his mission to retrieve it. But basically what happens, he gets his first post in England and he's injured and he's like retired from the military. And he's like, what am I going to do now? I've been a soldier all my life, but he's injured. And then he meets Jamie Bell, who's Escus. And Escus is a slave who is put into like a gladiator pit, and he refuses to fight. And Channing Tatum Marcus like saves Escus's life, and then Marcus's uncle buys Escus, and it's just
Okay.
like, here you go,
So
Marcus,
they
here's your
kiss?
new body slave.
Oh,
I know.
Well,
It's crazy.
well,
like, is it explicitly trying to be queer? Like, what's going on?
It's
queer.
not. It's not, but they took the script and they were like,
They
we know
said,
what to do.
we'll let you have the fanfic. Come on,
Channing
Channing.
Tatum, bisexual icon, was just like, I know what this is about.
Oh God, yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
he
Yeah.
played this as bisexual, like as
Yeah, yeah.
homosexually as possible.
Oh,
There are no speaking roles for women in this entire film. And usually that's a red flag for me. But
sometimes we need to keep our mouth.
in this film, I was like, you get a pass.
Yeah.
You get a pass for this one. You get a pass. Yeah.
So Marcus and Escus go, or Eska, Marcus and Eska go into the north because Eska is a native Pict, and it turns out like he's secretly a prince. It's just,
Oh, hey, every trope they're hitting. All
it's
right.
so good.
Queer.
Yeah, I'm watching
So
this today.
anyway, the Eagle, a 2011 adaptation of Rosemary's Set Close, like 1970s, 1980s novel, The Eagle of the Ninth, is just like bait. It's
Oh, I love it.
bait. Well, I really love it, not only because there's just like this undercurrent of queer yearning, which I feel modern cinema has kind of been like, what if they just kiss instead? And I'm like, what if they just stare at each other from across the river and say, I thought I lost you? Like, what if?
What if they just yearn instead?
What if they just yearn? What if they just yearn?
Bring back yearning.
Exactly. So I feel like, modern cinema has sacrificed a lot at the altar of being explicit representation. And I'm just like, what about
There's
just
something that tension that does more for me than anything.
I know. Exactly. I think a lot of people don't appreciate
We don't need
the sexual like undercurrents of subtleties and stuff like that. Anyway, I really like that adaptation because it's bait. It is bait for me personally.
Okay, really quick, rapid fire.
Yeah.
Fuck, marry, kill. Witches, vampires. I'm gonna change it. Pirates instead of werewolves.
Okay. Fuck, marry, kill. I'd probably
You're thinking.
This is so hard.
I said
Okay,
rapid.
I think, yes, you're right. I would fuck a vampire, marry a witch, kill a pirate.
That's
Because
fine.
then I could take the pirate's ship
Yeah.
and be with my witch girlfriend / wife
Come
on
on.
the pirate ship.
All right, what's your favorite? Now that I know your fanfic, what's your favorite fanfic trope? There was only one bed, fake dating, coffee shop AU. Those were the two. If you have a fix it, we can do fix it. You like it?
Wait, what's coffee shop AU?
It's just like cozy.
I hate cozy.
Okay.
Really?
I hate it. I think I don't like cozy AUs. I think my favorite are the backstory fics.
Oh, okay.
I really like backstory fics, and I really like alternate what if they were evil fics. There's another one that I really like where it's like the role reversal, where it's just like, what if they had like they just traded backstories? What then?
Okay,
so
I hate those. So that's
no, I love it. I'm just like, what then? Tell me.
Enemies to lovers or friends to lovers? Come on.
Oh, enemies to lovers to enemies again.
Ooh,
Oh!
A secret third option.
A secret third option.
Have you seen Jackie 2016?
No.
Wow. That's messed up.
I think you're our first guest who hasn't seen Jackie.
I think so. I think so. Good film.
History's never over.
You know what
that
it's
was
like?
a year. I feel like that was a year or like an era of time where we were getting like a lot of biopics.
Oh, it was one of the well, I would say it's one of the best year of film because it was Moonlight, Fantasy, La La Land. It was like such a good year.
Yeah.
It got beaten out. I think because now it would be the biopic, I think, if it came out now.
But whatever.
Well, maybe I'll take a look at it. I do love Natalie Portman.
Well, she does quite an accent. So really heavy on the accent.
Super transatlantic accent that woman does. We love her though. We stand.
Well, I'll watch Jackie if you watch The Eagle.
I mean, I'm gonna watch it today.
That
you have Letterboxd?
Easy. Yes.
What are you looking forward to in the future? What's inspiring you right now? It can be in the future. Can be next week. It doesn't have to be very far.
Looking forward to in the future. Honestly, like this is so self-serving, but I'm really, really enjoying writing my book right now.
Oh.
Well, yes.
Yeah. So the book's main character, her name is Pasha. She's like late 50s pirate queen, and she's just constantly hitting on the non-binary 24-year-old who kidnapped her.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, baby girl.
Like it's really like that. It's so funny to me. It's great.
When you said it got a father figure, but it's pirate figure instead of father figure.
Yes. So that is just really fun to write this dynamic where Pasha is, this very experienced, very powerful pirate
Mhm.
who's still like technically like under the thumb of this 24-year-old non-binary minister of like a court authority. And
Mhm.
Pasha's just like, I understand that we are in dire circumstances. You kidnapped me, chopped off my finger, and are blackmailing me, but I would fuck you.
Many such cases.
Yeah, so it's really
Really,
fun.
this is just making me more and more excited.
Me too. I'm excited.
Yeah, like everything. Like I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, get it. Like you get it. So thank you.
Pasha's very fun. It's gonna be even better when like her son shows up.
Oh my God. Okay.
And the minister is like, you have a son, and she's like, I have three sons. One of them's a fucking bard. What did I do wrong? At least one of them had the decency to become a fucking pirate. The other one's like off singing in court in skimpy clothing. It's terrible.
Let mothers fuck.
Baby girl.
Baby girl.
I'm really looking forward to
And it's
writing.
nice you
more
already
about
got a
them.
deal. It's coming out.
It will.
Yeah.
It if all goes according to plan, which is mostly if I turn in the drafts on time. Hopefully it'll come out in 2026, kind of at the same
Oh,
time
so
as
soon.
other
Okay,
things.
so we look forward to New Will to Live Unlocked. Well, in the meantime, do not forget to pick up a copy of Moth Eater, available everywhere, your local bookstore, online, everywhere, available on January 21st. I'm so excited. Is there gonna be like an audiobook in the works? Would you narrate that, do you think?
Oh, I would not narrate it. I don't think I don't think that's a skill set I have. But there is an audiobook coming out. I think it's coming out the same time
Okay,
as this book. But yeah, I believe
incredible.
so.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there's no excuse not to listen or read this copy and
Right.
indulge all things
Yeah.
Lynn.
Another
You go
It's
ahead.
also, oh, sorry, it's also going to be on Kindle Unlimited.
Oh,
So
nice.
Great.
it's going to be one of those books. I was really pleased to hear that. So yeah.
Wow, an
I would
incredible.
love if you would spoil it for us. Who's your dedication to?
I don't dedicate this book to anyone,
Oh,
actually.
wow. You said it's for
Wow.
me. That's it.
Yeah, I
Well,
thought
then it's
about it.
It's for
dedicated to
Channing
everyone who
Tatum
wants it.
and the Eagle specifically.
Yeah, shout out
Channing
Channing.
Tatum and the Eagle. To Channing Tatum as Marcus Aquilum
I know
in the
he's
Eagle.
smiling.
Oh,
If
I
he
think
heard
about
this,
it.
you
I
know
don't
he'd
ever.
be smiling
Yeah,
ear to
so
ear.
he's listening to this.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I don't want.
Channing, we love you.
I think I'd
Yeah.
only ever want to write a book to write a dedication. Like that's what I'd be like,
I did include acknowledgments because it's a debut. So no dedication, but like a page and a half of acknowledgments.
That's
Yeah.
lovely.
So
That's good.
there is that. I don't know. It was just with this one, I really struggled to find the dedication.
Yeah.
Well, many more to come. Many more.
You need to start thinking.
And where, in the meantime, can people find you, follow you, to keep up with your work?
I am publicly active on Bluesky. I am at Lin Codega, one word, everywhere. So I am on Bluesky. I have like an X account that I'm not really using. I'm on Tumblr. I'm on TikTok. I'm on just about I'm on Instagram. It's all Lin Codega. I'm really only publicly on Bluesky, which is where like a lot of updates and stuff happen. But yeah, you can wherever you want to follow me, you can. I can't guarantee you'll get anything from it.
But it's there.
It's there.
We'll make sure that it's tagged in the show notes as well.
And you have Rascal News as well. So
yes. Oh yeah, obviously. I'm the co-founder of Rascal News, which is a tabletop role-playing game website that that's a journalism site about games and how we play games. I am one of the co-founders. The two other co-founders are currently working there full-time, and I am very much in a support role as I'm working here. But yeah, Rascal News.
I will definitely have to check out Rascal News because I'm currently reading Tomorrow. I'm very late. I'm very, very late to the game on that, but loving it so far. So game world, something new to me.
Yes.
Well, Lynn, it's been such a pleasure. We loved gabbing with you. Thank you so much for chatting and listening and being an ETC family member now. Welcome to the club.
Thank you for inviting me into this club. This was really fun. I had a great time. Thank you guys so much.
See you next week.